Up and there he goes, talking right when it starts. Everybody, welcome to another quick episode of Bored and Annoyed, or Just Annoyed, I guess, now that Alex left me. So I have to co host with monsters like this person. Mike, my buddy Mike from the Dark episode, is back. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me, man.
You
I think
are.
I need an adjective.
Yeah, you don't have one? You need
No,
a,
I need.
Oh, you need one.
Yeah, I need one.
Ooh, that's
So
tough.
you're
Come up with
annoyed.
something.
Alex is bored.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, you think about it.
I'll think about it.
Mike is a big Christopher Nolan fan, and we went on Wednesday night to see Tenet. So I figured I would invite him back to discuss this movie. I don't know, Mike, how much, rabble rousing around on the internet you did to try and figure out what the fuck we saw. But it was an interesting movie. So, Mike, why don't you introduce yourself again, and then we'll start the show.
I'm Mike, and my only credential is that I'm Jackson's friend. So sometimes he throws me a bone and lets me come on the podcast to talk about nerdy shit. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited to be here. Yeah.
You're the perfect person. So,
Yeah, thanks.
all right,
Yeah.
let's go. All right, so I am notoriously bad at plots, but I'm going to give it a shot on this one. Just a spoiler-free plot synopsis for Tenet. And I'm not reading this. You'll realize that quickly because it's going to be awful. But basically, we've got a protagonist who I believe is just known as the protagonist in the movie. He is on a mission at the beginning of the movie to, I can't even remember what he was doing, but it's the big scene that you saw if you went and saw like Star Wars and IMAX. There's an opera. Him and a team are going into capture someone or something, and essentially he gets captured, and because he does not rat on his fellow teammates or the CIA or whatever, he gets brought into this group Tenet and into this intriguing mystery about items that are going back through time. And basically the plot is the concern is that they're going to send some sort of a weapon back in time to basically end the world, and he is on a mission to stop that. Is that correct? Is that a synopsis?
It's close.
Okay,
Yeah.
what do you got? You got to correct it then. Correct it.
No, I don't. I think that's good enough.
Yeah,
To
okay.
understand what the movie is. I think it's not a. It's they're trying to stop the turning on of the algorithm.
Okay,
So
right.
they turn on the algorithm, the whole existence gets inverted.
Yeah, but we
And
don't
then-
know that at the beginning, right?
No, because
Right.
he has the conversation with the scientist lady who's
Yeah.
an exposition robot.
Yes.
Which is, I know your favorite
Aspect of this film.
mechanism of Nolan movies is the exposition robot. So, yeah, there's the algorithm. If you turn it on, existence runs backwards, and they're worried that it's going to cancel everything out.
Yeah,
Then you also have objects that are inverted and people.
Right.
that
So
are
I
inverted.
was under the impression, as far as the first 20 minutes of the movie, it really, they introduce you through objects, right? Because you've got, when he learns about what's happening, it's the bullet.
Yeah.
And you've got an exposition scene there. And yeah, let's just start with that. I think that's a spoiler-free conversation to have regarding this movie, and Inception, I think, struggles with this as well, is that he comes up with such complex plots that he almost has to spend, like, I mean, I don't even know, maybe 45 minutes of this movie are just people sitting there giving information to the audience because there's no fucking way we could understand it without it. And it doesn't help that he's got a sound mixing issue in this movie where I couldn't understand a lot of what was being said during the movie.
He wouldn't say it was an issue, but I
Right.
agree.
Yeah.
Agree. It was an issue. Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of this movie is just them explaining how all this stuff works. Hopefully you're kind of in a position where you can pick up on some of it. I would imagine going to see this in IMAX or something, it would be even harder to understand what was being said than it was, because I just think of Dunkirk, and I remember feeling like I was in a fucking war when I saw that movie. So I got to imagine that the same deal's going on with this. But yeah, what'd you think of the movie, I guess? Did you like it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked it a lot.
Okay.
I think that I really wish I could have seen it again before doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Are we doing spoilers, or are we going to wait to do
Not
spoilers?
let's wait just a minute, but
Okay.
I think that's a good point. But it's funny, like especially if you're not talking spoilers, if you're talking to people who haven't seen it, it's almost more correct to have the conversation before you even know what the fuck the movie was about, because that's your initial impression. I mean, I see a lot of movies, they're typically pretty easy for me to
Yeah.
follow. So yeah, there's a chance you're going to get lost in this one, I would say.
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing to be lost. And I know that that's something that Nolan does deliberately. And I don't know. I'm not here to. I think I like the movie more than you.
Yes,
but
I think you probably did.
I.
But we'll talk to you in like 6 months when you admit that you were a little bit wrong.
When I've gotten a chance to see it more and
Yeah.
love it even more than I do now.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the stuff you're talking about is a challenge of the medium. I think it's really hard, and even a really long movie. I mean, if you compare it to something like a book, like how long does it take to read like a novel? I mean, it takes hours and hours and hours, and you can put so much information into a novel. In a movie, you have such a small time budget to do everything that you need to do. And so exposition dumps, I think, come across as far more inelegant during a film than with a book. Now, the advantage of movies is that you can show stuff to people, right? So you don't have to use dialogue to do that. But when you start to get really, really complex, like you do with Tenet, you need someone to explain like what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
So,
it's like you're trying to it's almost like you take the first season of Dark and you're trying to stuff all the information that you got in that show
yeah.
into a 2-hour movie. Which, yeah,
There's a lot of
difficult.
similarities between Tenet and Dark, actually, because I mean, I wouldn't classify Tenet as a. It's actually, I don't really think of it as a time travel movie. Dark is a time travel story.
Yes.
So there's different mechanics in Tenet, but the confusing situations that it creates remind me a lot of trying to figure out what is going on in Dark.
Right.
Well.
Yeah, it's trying to do something very complex with the idea of time travel. And this is one that's even more difficult to understand, I think, because I can't think of a time I've seen time travel done in this way.
Right.
So you're like trying to wrap your head around an all new way of telling a story. Now,
Which,
I
like,
would
we
say,
should give credit for the film.
yes,
For doing
yes.
that.
And
right?
he's always going to do something cool as shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, the guy's awesome. I would say though, it's like I was thinking of Interstellar, and there was something when I watched Interstellar with my wife at the end of the movie, and I think this sums up what's wrong with Tenet. Is that I remember she like started crying at the end when Matthew McConaughey like goes and his daughter's like way older than he is, and it's like this really sad emotional scene, and I looked over at the wife kind of like, and she's like, God, I don't even know what's happening, but I'm so sad. Because it has good characters that you give a shit about. Tenet doesn't have that, in my opinion. Tenet is the main character I have absolutely zero feelings for whatsoever. I just don't. They try to have a moment at the end of the movie, and it's more neat than it is emotional for the audience, I would say. There's one character, the girl in it, the Elizabeth Debicki or whatever character. She's got like a plot and kind of an emotional arc in the movie, but he literally is called the protagonist, and it feels like that. It feels like I don't have any reason to care what happens to him.
It's a really interestingly cold movie. I agree with you with that, and it's deliberate because JDW is called the protagonist. He's not even given a name, so I don't know. I haven't seen anything about. Because he did this really cheeky thing with Inception, where if you look at all the characters, they represent the major moving parts of creating a movie. I don't know if you've ever read that theory before. So I thought maybe something similar was going on in Tenet. maybe he's trying to say something about stories. I don't know. I don't know what his point is, but I missed the Inception. You know, like Eames is the actor, Cobb is the director, and you know whoever is the special effects, whatever.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
well, and Inception, with all the exposition, at least they had and I mean, they hit you over the head with it, which is probably a problem I have with that movie. But at least they had Leonardo DiCaprio's wife, who's dead, and all that shit to kind of make you feel like there was like an emotional hook in the movie. I don't see that here. I guess it's not necessary to have that, maybe, but I don't think. It's a tough movie to review because I can't say I was ever bored for a second of this. I'm assuming it was like 2.5 hours long. There's a bunch of cool shit, but it's almost like you're right. You need to watch it again because even the action scenes are like tough to follow just because your brain can't really comprehend what's happening. But
I think Nolan made JDW's character like deliberately kind of emotionally empty. That's why he doesn't give him a name. That's why he calls him the protagonist, right? I mean, I have some ideas on why that is. I just don't know. You know, maybe it wasn't the best choice. But speaking of Inception, this to me is like the most Inception movie that he's made since Inception, right?
Totally.
And it's like to me it's like it's even more complicated than Inception, which I never thought I would say or see a movie that was more difficult to understand than Inception. Because if you remember watching Inception for the first time, like you're like, okay, I kind of get what's going on. Tenet, I did feel like pretty lost.
I think that Inception is like I never found Inception that difficult to understand just because of all the exposition, and this one has just as much exposition, and I still am not 100% certain. Well, and it's like I almost feel like maybe I do get it, and it's just not as heady as it seems. Maybe I don't know. It's
no.
weird.
I think it's hard to understand because like I don't know if I can talk about this yet because it might be spoilers.
Well, what's your grade for the movie, and then we'll just go into spoilers. I feel like
give
this
it an
movie's
A
really
minus.
hard. A minus. I am going to give it a B.
B.
A B. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right there with the monster. It's right there on the same level as the monster.
Come on. God.
A minus, huh?
A minus.
Really, man. So like what? Okay, now before we go into spoilers, I want to hear like what do you give like The Prestige or something? Like I'm thinking about
Tenet more than The Prestige. They're really different movies.
Right.
I just like that like for all your qualms with it, like no one makes movies like this. That's why I love this movie. And that's why I love him. Because, like, no one makes movies anything like this. Like, they can try. But, seeing
but do you think this is as good as, like, Dunkirk?
Dunkirk was trying to do different things.
Right, but I mean, you don't get to... You can't say...
If you put a copy of Tenet and Dunkirk in front of me, I would watch Tenet again.
Okay, but that doesn't... I mean, I like movies that aren't as good as other movies that I don't like as much.
I guess Dunkirk... I see.
I fucking love Dunkirk.
You're trying to cram me into a box, so
I mean,
I'll throw you a bone. All right, based on what it's trying to accomplish, maybe Dunkirk does a better job. But Dunkirk's such a different movie, and that's another thing. Like his body of work is like you're starting to see some archetypes of movies that he makes, right? Sure. So you have Tenet and Inception, and maybe I don't know about. I mean, Insomnia. His early films are probably in their own bucket. I haven't seen Insomnia in years, by the way. I really want to. I really want to see it again. But like Tenet and Inception, and then you have then you have like Dunkirk, right? And then the Dark Knight trilogy is on its own.
Well, I feel like now we're just gonna get huge movies from him.
I feel like he just kind of does what he wants, right? I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with his brother too, because it's clear to me that it's Jonathan Nolan.
He's a co-writer on his movies.
Jonathan Nolan is like obsessed with time, and like time is a huge theme in all of his movies, almost all of them, right? I mean, Tenet is about time. It's Inception has a time element with things slowing down, right? That's the whole reason why it's bad to be stuck in multi-layered dreams, is because you're there forever, right? And then Dunkirk, within the structure of the film, was doing interesting things with time, because I believe we were moving at different speeds, right? There was one that was pretty much in real time, and then there was one that like played out over the course of the movie. So it's clear that the Nolans are like very fascinated with time and like playing with it. Memento is another one. It's a movie that goes backwards.
Fucking love Memento,
right?
man.
So yeah, I don't know where was I going with that.
He's got his movies now that are like in their own categories of Nolan films.
I want to go back to what you were saying about will I understand it better, but it's like the interrogation scene before they go through the turnstile.
And we're in spoilers now, by the way.
We're in spoilers, yeah. We're in spoilers. That's a really hard scene to understand, even when you know what's going on, right? Because Sator's running an interrogation in reverse. Also, a minor question I have is, can Sator understand reverse talk? I think he must, because he's interrogating them inverted. He's inverted, they're inverted. Actually, doesn't matter. It makes no difference. But
yeah, the other world is inverted to whatever
it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, like that scene's real hard to understand what's going on. At the end, Debicki gets shot. He thinks that the device is in the BMW. Like that's what I picked up from it.
Right.
But it's like not clear to me how that actually worked, because I don't know. It's just
were they hearing each other in reverse in that scene? Because I feel like there was some a device of some sort that was playing back their
maybe that's it.
Dialogue in the correct order. But
maybe,
I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A good villain, by the way. He really chewed the scenery, dude.
You got to tell the story of how.
Oh yeah. Oh, during the movie, I looked over and I said, Mike had said, like, who is that? And he was talking about, or I don't know his name. And he was talking about the protagonist character, I think. Like the character's name. And I'm like Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh. And he's like, that's not Kenneth Branagh, dude. Yeah, totally Kenneth.
Jackson goes, $100. That's Kenneth Branagh. And I was like, wow, he's really sure.
Yeah.
I might have to reevaluate.
I really need to lower those bets when I know, because like 5 I might have gotten from you.
You might have gotten 5. I wasn't going to bite at 100. I thought Kenneth Branagh did a good job.
Oh, he was great. He was like super over the top. Like really chewing the scenery. He's always been great though. Like in everything he's in.
What the fuck happens at the opera? Like, why are they there? I don't remember.
When I was trying to do my plot
the
synopsis.
Opera is super weird because it becomes like this linchpin for the rest of the plot, but like only because they were there, right?
Yeah, well, it's,
like
it's
I don't remember.
It's the mission that he got caught and brought into the organization because of, right?
That's how he gets in with Sator too, because that's how he prevents Sator from cutting his balls off and jamming him into his throat. Is because he mentions the opera. Saying I know that because I think Sator is responsible for attacking it. I think it had to do with a part of the algorithm, which, by the way, is literally a drive shaft. Like when all the things are put together, it's like literally like a drive shaft. So
that is interesting though, because to your point, you were saying when the movie ended, like, oh, we never went back there. It had to have been the main character who was the guy who showed up and like saved his ass, right?
It was actually Pattinson.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think he dies. I think that dude dies.
He
Pattinson dies at the opera.
He dies. Well, then no, because he can't die twice.
No, you're not understanding. Yeah, see, you're in over your head.
No,
he travels back there. That's where he's supposed to die. So he knows he's going to die at the opera at that point.
No, Pattinson isn't the one who he sees through the door is dead at the end of the movie when Pattinson like he lets Pattinson go. He knows Pattinson's gonna die because he just saw him right where they're gonna get the device at the end.
I was cheating because I was just reading a FAQ.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there's like a little like thing hanging out of Pattinson's pocket, right?
As soon as this movie started ending, I started thinking about a sequel because there's so much more that the protagonist needs to do.
Well, there's an entire backstory too of him,
or
and
forward
Pattinson.
story, or whatever.
I call
Also,
it a
I
backstory.
saw because at the end you have red team JDW and blue team Pattinson,
Right.
and I'm like, how are these people talking to each other? I think they went through a turnstile off screen. That's what somebody said. Someone went through a turnstile so they could both be headed in the same direction.
They are definitely both in turn. Like there are characters that, that's an interesting point too, is does he show us enough? Because there are characters that go through the turnstile and we don't see it. Like we know the bad guy went through it because he went back in time, and then before he dies and gets on the boat with his wife, he had to have gone through it to start going forward again. She had to have gone through it to go forward again because she's not wearing the gas mask on the boat.
Right.
So yeah, there's some assumptions.
And you wouldn't be able to interact with anybody. Everyone would be moving backwards. So,
right.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so at the end, it's not clear who went through a turnstile when. And it's like one's blue and one's red. I'm like, how are they talking to each other? One thing I did notice right away, and this is a little fuzzy too, when they send Debicki back through after she gets shot, JDW goes with her. And then that other guy's like, oh, this is some cowboy shit. You remember that?
Yep.
So then we get the car chase in reverse. He's in an Oldsmobile that crashes, and he gets frozen from the blast. And then he wakes up, and Pattinson's there. And I'm like, wait a minute. When did Pattinson get here? Right? So he arrives in their direction off screen because he's the one who pulls JDW out of the car. Do you remember that scene?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So there are characters going through turnstiles that you don't see,
Yes. Yeah, you have to kind of make assumptions. First off, anyone who's not wearing a respirator is not going backwards, right? You have to be wearing one. Unless you're in like the special
you remember
room.
when they're on that ship going backwards and they're all in that cabin like talking
Yeah,
to
but
each other?
I think they have like the plastic sheeting, like whatever they need is in that room.
Okay. So they have a little
But if you're in the outside world, you have to have the respirator on.
It's just little shit like that though. It's like we need those cues to build our informational stage,
Yes.
And if I don't it's like you told me I need air, but then you're showing a scene with characters inverted, and they don't have masks on. So like, what's happening here?
Yes. And I would like to say, no, Pattinson died. This is confirmed when he turns around to reveal an orange cord attached to his backpack, clarifying the identity of the masked man who took a bullet for the protagonist during the Stalask 12 battle. So I believe that's the battle at the end. So I don't think
the coin on the red string, which is like just like Dark, by the way. There's also a coin on a red string in Dark.
Get the fuck off my desk.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he got to copy Dark. It's the greatest time travel thing ever made. So
I have a theory about JDW having first of all, he does have a personality. And we're not giving that enough credit. Second of all, he does have, I think I know why he's called a protagonist, because Tenet is like his thing. That's what we learn at the end.
Yes.
So he's kind of like God a little bit. Like he's causing all of this shit to happen. And that one soldier guy is like, this is all a temporal pincer. This whole thing is a temporal pincer.
Right.
And it's you. Like he created Tenet. And also, actually, the army has a different name. It's a word. I can't remember what the word is. But it's like proprietary or something like that. That's his army too. So like This is like if Christopher Nolan like did a spy thriller, like he would come up with something like Tenet, right? Um,
Which
but
he
he
did.
which he I just think it's like JDW's character is like frighteningly fearless. Like he's not afraid of anything.
I can't quite get with you that I don't want to give credit to him having a character. I just don't. I don't think he had much of a character. I just don't. I mean,
okay, he's absolutely determined. He's like totally fearless. He's very resourceful. He has feelings for. He falls for Debicki. And I was cheating because I was reading about Reddit. I was reading on Reddit, but the to pass the test to join Tenet is like you have to be willing to die. Like all of these people in the Tenet army, at some point are going to die. Like
right, but you
because
just described like a stock perfect protagonist, though. You didn't describe his character. I don't know anything about him.
I know,
as
but that's the point. That's
right,
why he's called the protagonist.
Okay, that's fine. You can do it purposeful, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt the movie on an emotional level for the viewer because you just don't give a shit. I mean that
I cared.
I mean, I cared more about the other characters in the movie than him, though. Like, I was way more intrigued by, the Elizabeth Debicki's character, I think, is the emotional core of the movie.
But he clearly cares about Debicki, and he cares about Pattinson when he realizes at the end he's sending Pattinson to his death.
Yeah, well, that's
Pattinson's known him the whole time, and he doesn't realize that, right?
Right. Well, that was great. The ending was great, but again, if I gave more of a shit about JDW, as we're calling him, to save ourselves time, I would probably have had more to chew on in that scene.
He's a slick motherfucker too. I do like him. Like
he's a good actor.
As an actor, I like him.
Yeah, I like him too.
He's a slick guy, and I gotta give Nolan credit for not immediately knowing that he was fighting himself. Like that came as a surprise to me, and that surprised me. Right?
Yeah.
I was of course it's him, right? But
yeah, there's a few of those where it's like, oh shit, how did I not realize that?
Yeah, how did I not realize that was the
well, and that deserves commendation too, because like, yeah, it's that's kind of a tricky thing to pull off, because if you get an audience like along for the ride where you're really tuned into what's happening, you're following along. Maybe it's easier in a tougher movie to follow along because your mind's in so many other places, but yeah, anytime that there's the obvious thing that you should have caught that you didn't, I think is a big testament to the movie, because that means that you didn't really care to sit there and worry about trying to guess shit, because you just like got your ticket.
You were just enjoying it.
Yeah. So yeah, I would give him props for that.
And if they would have touched each other skin to skin, he would have annihilated himself.
Yes. Yeah. That's an interesting point, because that was kind of that was getting me too, because you have to touch each other then.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you just had to both be like aware of each other.
Yeah. There's definitely some magic kind of shit, like the bullets in the glass that he stumbles upon before he starts fighting himself. Like, when did those appear in the forward facing? And that's when they were talking about the temporal wind. Remember that?
That's an interesting point.
So those bullets appear slowly over time. They sort of fade into existence.
So the first time he fights him, the bullet holes are there. He fights himself. The bullet holes
that appeared,
they're going backwards. And when he comes back again, you see them being created before he gets thrown into like the airlock thing, right? You're right. So when did they appear?
They appear slowly over time. So there's a little bit of wishy-washy. And also, it wasn't clear to me, like, because he can fuck with inverted bullets, right?
Yeah.
And then there's that bungee scene.
Yeah.
So I was really confused for a while. Those bungee cords must have been inverted. Because I thought, essentially, these objects like give you powers, because the bungee because once I realized like you will only ever flow in one direction, the object might be flowing in another direction. So how did the bungee trick work? Well, those bungee cords must have been inverted.
Inverted bungee cords. But how do they get inverted? Although I suppose
they bombard them with radiation. It's all it's like it's tachyons. It's the same thing as Watchmen. Same device. Yeah, tachyon.
That is interesting though, because you're right. I'm sure he thought all this shit through pretty fucking well. Like, there's probably not a plot hole, really.
And in fact, I'm going to let you finish this thought, but real quick, the top thread on Reddit, Tenet is a perfect time travel film with zero inconsistencies or paradoxes. Change my mind. So,
yeah,
there you go.
And Solo Wookie, who's in the chat, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube, because then you can follow along in real time. But Solo Wookie, we already gave our grades for this. He was A-, I was a B. So I didn't hate this. I'm just shitting on it, just to upset Mike. Well, and I do think you're gonna like it.
I think you're gonna like it
more, because I gotta say, with Inception, every time I watch it, I like it less. So
I think the Tenet will have the opposite effect.
Let's hope so. I mean, I'm really fucking pumped to own it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's God, it's such a weird movie.
It's a weird so fucking movie. But I really like weird shit, and there should be more weird shit.
Yeah. You know? Well, and especially because, I mean, it's not just weird. It's weird with a budget. Like, he has the power now in Hollywood to basically make whatever fucking weird shit that he wants to make. But yeah, as far as a Nolan movie, I mean, I feel like it's probably in like the lower to mid tier for me on first viewing. It's not going to be one of my favorites ever, I don't think. He's just made movies that are fucking incredible. So I don't think it's on that level, but yeah, I could see it going
I'd put it up there. I think it's better than Inception. Do you think it's better than Inception?
I don't really. Inception's like one of my least favorites. So
really?
Yeah, sure. I mean, because it suffers from the same problem as this movie does, where the whole movie, the last time I watched it, I think was like a year ago, because I got the Nolan 4K collection or whatever.
Yeah, I have it too. Is Insomnia in there?
Insomnia is not in there.
It's not in there. I don't think he likes Insomnia, actually. Anyway, sorry.
He probably didn't have carte blanche in Insomnia, I would imagine.
Right.
My problem with Inception is that it's too much fucking exposition. Every fucking scene is them explaining something to you, and it's like, okay, well, just because it's complex doesn't make it good, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this movie, although I probably like this less on first viewing, but hopefully it gets better when I watch it. But right now, I guess I like it more because I've seen Inception enough times where I've lost some appreciation for it.
I think that one of the weakest parts of the movie was the shootout at the end. I thought that was pretty poorly done, even though it was cool. Like the concept of the two. So I thought the concept of the one army going backwards, the one army going forward is a really cool idea. But for some reason, they like never showed like Sator's men. They never showed who they were fighting.
Yeah.
Or like what they were doing. It was all these like weird shots of like infantry running through like sand and like bullets getting backwards. We never even see who they're shooting at a single time. So I thought that was like incredibly bizarre.
Yeah,
like the longer that sequence went on, the worse it got.
There was some cool shit though. There was like the building that gets blown in half.
Tight.
Fuck yeah. And when they see the henchman guy, or when Robert Pattinson sees the henchman guy backwards take apart the trip line that they end up, the booby trap that they end up tripping over, you know, and that kind of like gets him to go down there the first time. Now he goes back after the movie is like, after that whole scene's wrapped up, because JDW kind of like knows that he's going to go back and die there, because he's going to be the masked guy that takes the bullet on the other side of the door, which is odd Pattinson. Too. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that whole scene in general. Now, I'm not quite certain why the blue team had to be dropped in cargo containers. Did they explain that?
No.
Okay.
I don't really get like how the pincer works. I understand that it like causes an enormous amount of confusion. Like I understand that.
Right.
But like I don't get like what was the goal. I mean, you had the blowing up the building that time to 5 minutes, and it's like, well, this must have been one of their major objectives, right? Because they both were like, you're gonna shoot the top, I'm gonna shoot the bottom at 5 minutes, because their clocks are going in opposite directions, right? So when they meet in the middle, you shoot the building.
The distraction or whatever, right?
Yeah,
I mean
that must be what it is. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's such a cool concept though, and it's funny because to your point about maybe liking it more watching it again, it's so hard to grasp just what's going on just because you've never seen anything quite like it.
Right.
So like who am I following now? What you have to juggle all these things, right? What character, because they're all in masks too. So like you made the point at the end of the movie, and I thought it for a second too, like, was there two Pattinsons? Because there's the like head of the red team who you could think was Pattinson, like easily.
Right.
But it's not. And then there's the other team, and it's like, okay, who am I following here? Because I can't see their face. What fucking direction am I going in? What are they even trying to do? And it does get a little tough at the end.
They're after part of the drive shaft. They're after part of the algorithm, right?
That's but then there's one team that is supposed to go in and get it, and then there's another team that's basically a diversion of sorts, right? They're trying to blow the place up because the bad guy has to believe that it got or doesn't. They don't want the bad guy to know that it got taken, so they have to pretend it's like a successful defense of the item, so they don't kill himself.
Fail to defuse the bomb is what they said. But also their counterplay is like, well, we're just gonna kill Sator,
right?
Yeah, which is what they did because he has a dead man switch. I'm not clear how that works. But if he dies...
Oh, it's like the movie Spawn. Martin Sheen has it hooked up to his heart. Solo Wookiee will get this reference. Martin Sheen has it hooked up to his heart and the world ends if
the algorithm is somehow activated. Right?
Yes.
So...
Yeah.
But, but there's more to this story. And so it becomes... I think Nolan wanted to be like, okay, we need to focus this for the climax. But like Sator's one part of the puzzle, right? He only becomes a billionaire because he was sent gold by the antagonists in the future. He was like looking for something, right? He was like doing some shit job, and he opens up a box and it's filled with gold bars, and there's a letter from the future.
Well, it was an explosion at like a plant of some sort. That do we think that the explosion was caused by something coming into the past from the future? Like the whole thing was set up, right?
The whole thing was set up because, and this is given in exposition, the world is dying because of climate change.
Right.
So the antagonists of the future are trying to destroy the past to save the planet. And then they bring up the grandfather paradox and they say, well, it doesn't matter because they're all going to die anyway, so they're going to roll the dice on the grandfather paradox, which is pretty thin reasoning, but it passes the bar.
Right, and by the way, Solo Wookiee, your comment here about you might have to give it a watch. I would say if you have an IMAX that's open near you, I believe you're in Arizona, if I remember correctly.
Point out flaws, then make it feel good. Yeah, he's right. He's got our number. Sure.
But no, you should go see it on a huge screen because there's a reason why Nolan was not going to accept a digital release of this movie. He's never going to be one who I believe would accept that. His movies are spectacles and they're meant to be seen in the loudest, biggest way possible. So I would recommend seeing it. I'd give it a high recommendation just because, first of all, what the fuck else are you going to see right now?
Right.
And secondly, because it's good. I mean, it's different. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's The Dark Knight. I don't.
No, it's not Dark Knight. It's no Interstellar. But it's fucking no one makes movies like this. Big fucking budget, weird ass action movies with weird shit, complicated shit, and it's just a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, and then Denis makes Blade Runner 2049, and it makes like total of like $8.75 in the theater, which sucks.
I saw 2049 twice in the theater.
It's great.
I never see movies twice in the theater. I saw it twice.
Yeah, it's good.
That movie's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
for sure.
Denis, man. Denis and Christopher Nolan should do a team up, man.
Dude, we should go see Tenet again and do another review. What do you think?
The my brain's not as broken after seeing it the second time. Recap review. No, I'm down to talk any Nolan anytime.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Noon.
Right. Yes. But yeah, I guess we've been talking about this movie for 40 minutes now.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not talking enough about the effects in this. They're cool as shit. Hard to follow again because your brain can't you can't wrap your head around them at sometimes. But they're fucking awesome. I don't know how he does it. I can't even imagine when you've got characters going in two different directions, all that shit on the screen at the same time, how difficult that's got to be. The fight scenes are slick as hell. I saw the effects, the action, all great.
Hold on, I want to make a point. I made this point to you in the theater. That I liked the movie immeasurably more once they went through the turnstile. Because I think that happens like roughly halfway through the movie. And I was like, so when the structure of the movie made itself known to me, I had a better understanding of what was going on. Because he took all this complicated shit going down. It's like, look, they went through the turnstile. Now they're going backwards. And so we're traveling back through the scenes that we were already in from a different perspective, which is like totally unique, in my opinion.
It makes it way more fun.
Yeah, it makes it way more fun. And then the fact, I know we just mentioned this, but we didn't know he's fighting himself. But when they're by the plane and he gets blown through the door.
Yes.
And I make that connection. It's like, oh my God. We're watching this scene from his perspective going backwards. That was like the coolest part. That moment when he gets blown through the door and he starts fighting himself, I guess again, was like the best part of the movie.
And that's when it had finally clicked on some level what was happening too, right? Because that was when you realize, okay, now I get it. I've got the rules down for the most part. I understand. Now I can just kind of relax. There's a clear MacGuffin that they're after. There's the item that they have to get, and it gets way more clear what's happening.
They also start winning once they invert.
Even though they were winning the entire time.
Well,
really.
It depends on your perspective, right?
Yes.
So, but once you start going back and it's like, okay, now I understand they're armed with the most important weapon of all, which is information.
Right.
So they have the advantage going backwards, right?
Yes.
And I was like, cool. Now we can start. Now we're let's find our foot. You find your footing along with the characters. The characters find their footing in winning the day. You find your footing in understanding what the fuck is going on in this movie. So I thought that was a really cool little dovetail right there. That was my favorite part of the movie, I thought.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't have too much more to say, except for the sound. I guess we should talk about the sound, since that's now what is his, Nolan better than me, what is his excuse for incomprehensible dialogue with blaring musical tracks over
Jackson,
top of the
I
dialogue?
still want the original Bane audio track in The Dark Knight Rises. I will never let this go.
This is when The Dark Knight Rises is supposedly when it started, his obsession with making it so fucking loud, which I love the loud shit when there's not dialogue. Yeah. I don't like the loud shit when there's a conversation about a complex plot going on and I can't understand what the fuck they're saying.
Branagh's last moments. I didn't understand anything that he said. He's on the phone.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm just I remember looking at you. I don't think you looked at me, but I was like,
I have no idea. Well, there's
no idea what you're saying.
Well, there's scenes even the cocktail scene when JDW's talking to Elizabeth Debicki's character, and it's like, why is there music? Why is the fucking score playing right now?
Right.
Why? I don't understand what he's thinking.
There was huge controversy because you couldn't understand Bane.
Yeah.
So
there were people that wanted...
He re-recorded his whole track.
Well, and then
And
people still couldn't understand him. A lot of people wanted subtitles for Bane's words in
Right.
The Dark Knight Rises, which maybe not a horrible idea.
I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's comfortable with you not hearing everything.
I mean, you're fucking over the performances of the actors then, though. I mean, that's fine. He can be comfortable with me not hearing anything, but don't make a movie where I have to hear bits of information in order to understand what's going on. Like, I'm very excited to play this on my sound system because I can literally take the center channel and turn it up and turn the other channels down.
Or put on subtitles. I'll probably watch it with subtitles. Yeah.
Right. But you shouldn't have to do that in an English-speaking movie.
I agree.
That's a very odd thing that he seems to be obsessed with.
Dude, but no one does explosions like him. You feel it in your bones, dude.
Great, but nobody's talking during explosions.
I know,
man.
but no one mixes like he mixes.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I remember Holm, the old co-host. I
remember him too.
He bitched about Dunkirk giving him a headache, and I really can't blame him. It worked for Dunkirk for me because it's like, oh, it's a war. Right. I should feel frazzled, and there's not much dialogue in Dunkirk. There's just not. So it's very, it's easy to grasp what's going on.
Honestly, though, I get what he's trying to do because I'm this way with music. Like, I don't ever really listen to music to have something on in the background. If I'm listening to music, it has to be loud. It must encompass me. Like, that's how I like to listen to music. You know what I mean? Bixby is talking to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I also listen to music loud, but when I turn up the volume, the mix is such a way where whatever they intended for me to hear, I can hear.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm almost wondering at this point if he's just trolling.
He might just be trolling, yeah.
And if he is, that would be the best explanation.
That would be the best explanation,
yes.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, I don't know how much more there is to say about the movie. We both liked it. You liked it more than I did, but you also want to cradle his balls. So I will give it a B again. You're giving it an A minus.
A minus.
So
better than Empire.
Better than Empire. Yeah, it's better than Empire. You also said it would be the best Mission Impossible movie.
It is the best. It's the best Mission Impossible movie I've ever seen, without question.
It's the worst take,
dude. That one with fucking Cavill.
Your take is so bad.
Overcooked. This is
overcooked.
Overcooked.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes on that?
Tom Cruise is chasing him in a chopper. What's going on? There are nukes. Come on. I like the psycho Russian guy.
We're gonna take this to Rotten Tomatoes. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, Fallout. Just a measly 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. What is Tenet at? 70?
I think it's like 70, 75.
74. See, that's not fair though. Like, really? You're telling me 25% of the people were like, "Oh, that sucked," or "That wasn't good," or I don't know.
Want
it's
a fucking sequel to Tenet.
But you're probably never gonna get one. Maybe. Has he done a sequel to anything but Batman?
No.
Okay.
But this movie is like begging for a sequel. Like, what if, like, is it not possible that JDW is responsible for everything? In fact, I think it's probably likely. Like, he's the cause of everything. Like, he's I'm the protagonist. Like, maybe he's not. Maybe he's both the good guy and the bad guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the assumption to be made. It's one of those. It's certainly going to be built. It's got to be built around some sort of paradox, like Dark is, where
right?
It's like, oh well, this thing happened only because this other thing in the future happened. But it's like the whole bootstrap paradox thing, like the Tannhaus getting the book that he wrote even though he hadn't written it yet, right? That kind of shit.
And he never will.
Right.
But with the thing with Tannhaus, this is the brilliance of Dark. Maybe we can just talk about Dark for another hour. was at the end of the day, he was the only one to build a time machine from scratch in the original world.
Right.
Like, he was the only one. So that it was such a beautiful irony in that little sub storyline that I thought was just masterfully done. But no, I want a Tenet sequel. I want to know what happens.
I mean, I would like a Tenet sequel. I would like Christopher Nolan. Look, I'm shitting on this movie quite a bit, but I will go see each and every Christopher Nolan movie as soon as I can the second they hit theaters. You're going to get something that's big and different. And he is obsessed with what he's doing, which I like. But yeah, this one it wasn't as good as I was hoping. Fair. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. So
I thought it was great, and maybe we can say this for another time. But it's also clear to me that like Chris Nolan has issues with like love and intimacy, because like his characters are just with Debicki was pretty thin, and then with Cobb and Inception it was like, feminists call this the girlfriend in the fridge. Which is like it's meant to knock this style of storyline, like, oh, my girlfriend died and the villain stuffed her in a fridge, and now this is all about me and like how I feel about it, right? And not this woman who lost her life and was jammed into a fridge. So Nolan has a lot of women in fridges.
I don't think that Debicki was, though. I thought she was like a strong character.
I thought that was Nolan like turning the throttle.
He was doing it on purpose?
Like trying to cover that base, you know what I mean? But I think, he's not perfect. Like, no one's perfect. And I think he owns it and, like, does the best he can with it. So I, like, respect him for that, too.
Denis Villeneuve is, like, perfect, though.
Dude, I can't...
Dune, baby. Oh, yeah, that's another story. Let's end with this.
Let's end with this.
So I was perhaps as excited for the teaser for Dune, which is coming out in December.
As was I. Yeah.
And yeah, so we go to this. I'm like, oh, first off, from the beginning, it starts with, oh, let's go to this Max. It's like a mac and cheese place, like noodle style, where you place your order, they bring it to you, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like 7:45, and Mike's like, oh, you're cutting it a little close there, aren't you? I'm like, dude, it's like in the parking lot. It's right there. I'm like, all right, fine, 7:40. So I get there at 7:40, place my order. Something goes wrong with the ticket. Of course, it takes like 25 minutes to get the food. So it's like at this point, it was probably like 8:05 or something when we got the food. Finish the food, go to the bathroom, go into the theater, and I got in there first, and literally it was like the cast of the movie and December something. So I missed it. So I didn't see the Dune teaser. Apparently it releases online in 3 days.
Okay, I was just going to ask that. Also, let me close with this. If you're going to go to the theater, don't buy any packaged snacks.
I had Sour Patch Kids the other day that were pretty good, but they're a popular candy.
I got like Butterfinger Bites. Those motherfuckers have been sitting there since February. Stay inedible.
Absolutely. Maybe they were sent through the
inverter,
yeah, they were going backwards.
The turn.
Although then they should be getting better.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually they'll turn into.
Is that how it would work though? Is that how it would work? Would they get fresher or?
Yeah. Why don't the bullets turn into their constituent parts eventually?
Yeah, and why don't would the actors, okay, if you were like at the end of your life, this is the kind of stuff that a sequel could explain to us, I guess. Like, if you went through the thing and went backwards, could you go back through it again and you'd be younger? Like, could you live like 50
they
years?
age.
They still age. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Also, the thing where, like, Pattinson is what's-her-name's son is not true.
No, I never, it's fun. It's a fun idea.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think.
Dude, their bromance is at the center of the movie, basically. Where it's one half of one bromance.
One guy's in a bromance, the other one doesn't know.
Right.
And by the way, can we just, Robert Pattinson is now one of the best actors that is currently working. And if I see another dumbass, I'm not going to do anything about it if I see it. But if I see another dumbass on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, every time there's a fucking Batman thing that's shared, Robert Pattinson's playing Batman, blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, he's going to be so fucking good.
He's going to be a great Batman. Well, sorry you're salty that he got super rich doing the Twilight movies.
Right.
It's like, die mad.
He's
Die
the problem.
mad.
He's the problem
Yeah.
with those movies. Yeah, I would do that tomorrow. I would
Yeah,
take the
he became
Twilight
rich
role.
for the rest of his fucking. I don't know how
Yeah.
much he's paid, but
Yeah, and
easy,
he's done nothing but good shit since. so.
easy decision. Lighthouse, amazing.
Yes.
I need to see Good Time. That's on
Good
my
Time's
list.
great. Yeah, it's very. What was the other movie they did with Adam Sandler?
Oh yeah, they did Uncut Gems, right?
Uncut Gems. Yes,
Yeah,
it's very
great.
much Uncut Gems. I think it's a little better than Uncut Gems, actually.
Is that so?
Yes.
Is that so? All right.
Um,
All right.
yeah.
Maybe
All
I'll
right.
watch it tonight. All right, man.
All right, peace
Thanks
out.
for having
and,
me.
Hey, thank you, Mike, for joining. And if you're watching this today, tune in tonight. We've got a Sandman Volume 5 discussion coming tonight, as well as a review of The Fifth Element with the Downright Annoyed with Movies crew, which, I forget how good that movie is. I really
That's
like
one of my
that
favorite
movie.
movies.
It's fucking
bro.
awesome.
I
dude.
love that fucking movie.
But yeah, have a good night, everybody, and don't forget to subscribe everywhere. And I will let you go now because we said that 5 minutes ago, and we're probably annoying you by now.